Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. क्या हाल है?
I'm good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello, Nimra.
Assalamualaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello, Amna.
Assalamualaikum, ma'am. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. Hello, Elia.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, ma'am. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. आ गई आपकी बिजली?
No, ma'am. Advanced balance हो गया है. Advanced balance हो गया है.
क्या?
Advanced balance मंगवाया.
अच्छा, समझ नहीं आ रही आप क्या कह रहे हो.
मैं कह रहा हूँ advanced balance मंगवाया.
अच्छा, ठीक है. Hello, Nashra.
Assalamualaikum, miss.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good, miss. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, let's start, right? So I'm going to share my screen with you. Yes, okay. Okay, so you can see this is chapter 4 and we have completed chapter number 4. Today we are going to practice important concepts and we are going to apply them to solve problems, okay? So one of the concepts that we are going to talk about, and like I've been saying, it's very important, are the graphs that we do related to motion. We know that we have different kinds of graphs. We have the position time graphs, which are also called the displacement time graphs. And then we have the velocity time graphs and we have the acceleration time graph. So you have to clarify these concepts and practice them so that you can use them to solve problems. So let's look at the first one. This is about a position time graph. We talked about slope of a graph. You know, when we were drawing a graph in chapter number 1, we saw that slope can be found by taking any 2 points, dropping the perpendiculars, okay, and then you have the coordinates of this point will be x1 and y1, okay, and the coordinates of this point are x2, y2, and this is, we know x-axis, this is y-axis. So the slope is given by, okay, the vertical one is y2 minus y1, y2 minus y1 divided by the horizontal one, which is x2 minus x1. And if this is a position time graph or a displacement time graph, we know displacement is s, this is time, then this is equal to s2 minus s1, y is s, right? Or the position, it can be x in whatever it is, right? And this is x2 minus x1 will be t2 minus t1. So this means that this is equal to the slope in a position time graph is equal to delta S over delta T, which is the velocity. So if you have a position time graph, you can use the slope to find the velocity. So that's the first important concept. Here you have this written over here. The slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which means delta y over delta x. Now, if it's a position time graph, as we are considering in this case, then this will be equal to the change in displacement divided by the change in time. And therefore, this is equal to the velocity. You can put in the values and calculate it. Okay. So this is a graph from which they have made the calculations. So in this case, they're calculating for T1 is equal to 1 second. This is from here, right? T1 is equal to 1 second. And T2 is equal to 3 seconds. So T2 is equal to 3 seconds is here. These are the 2 points they're looking at. And the motion for these 2 points, when you drop the perpendicular like this, okay, you make your, this, you will take y2 for this position. Y2 for this position is what? Y2 for this position is equal to, this is 3 seconds, right? And S2 should be 3. इन्होंने 2 क्यों लिखा हुआ है? Can you guys check this? इसको चेक करो. देखो 3 सेकेंड्स अगर हम टाइम ले रहे हैं इधर ग्राफ में, 3 सेकेंड्स, फिगर 4, नहीं सॉरी, okay, sorry, they're not talking about this one, they're talking about figure 4.5. Okay, so you can forget about this. Okay, forget about this because they are that's what I was looking at. These numbers are not corresponding to this graph. So 4.5 is the graph where 4.5 is the graph. Where is figure 4.5?
मैम गुजर गया, नीचे था शायद.
नीचे था. Let's see. ये वाला, अच्छा ये वाला है, right? So this is the one. Okay, so 1 second is here. ठीक है, this is 1 second, this is 3. अब ठीक आ रहा आंसर, ठीक है ना? So you can see अगर अब ये 2 points लें तो for this one y2 will be 2 meter per second. So the slope in this case delta y over delta x is equal to delta s over delta t, because it's a position time graph. This is equal to s2 minus s1 divided by t2 minus t1. So this is equal to s2 in this case is 2 meters. This is 2 meters minus the second one is 1 meter divided by the time t2 is 3 seconds minus T1 is 1 second. So this is equal to 1 divided by 2. So this is equal to 0.5 meter per second. So that's the slope, which is equal to the velocity. Okay. So the explanation was on the next page, but the graph they're talking about is on the previous page. Okay. So please be careful when you're doing this. Okay. Now, again about this graph. Now let us look at this graph 4.8. Right. When we look at this graph, I want to erase this here. Okay. But I've also erased. Okay. So I can erase everything here. But these are the formulas, so it's okay. Okay. Now we can make these calculations for this graph 4.8. The first calculation is for the time t is equal to 0 to 3 seconds. So if you look at the time t is equal to 0 to 3 seconds, so this is from here to here. So please make the calculation for this and I will take your attendance, okay? Okay, Ahmed Hassan is absent. Fahad bin Emir is absent. Aisha is absent. Ali Musa is absent. Mahnur.
Yes, ma'am.
Mahnur is present. Nimra.
Yes, ma'am.
Nimra is present. Sayyid Azad Asad is absent. Farooq Ahmed is absent. Awais Khabar Gill is absent. Laiba is absent. Sahib Khan is absent. Sahib Khan has some problem, I think. He sent me a message. Adia.
Yes, ma'am.
Amna.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Nashra.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Aruba is absent, Halima is absent, Nawab is absent, Sumavi is absent, and Saud Rafakat is absent. There's an electricity breakdown, I think, in some places. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. मैम काफी
Yes,
apps भी
ma'am.
work कर रही हैं इंटरनेट की वजह से.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, protest तो खत्म हो गए हैं ना? We don't have protests now, है ना?
No, ma'am.
वो तो खत्म हो गए हैं. पहले there was a problem because of that. आज वो it's the weather, I think. That's the problem, है ना?
Ma'am,
Yes.
पूरी रात बारिश हुई है. पूरी रात बारिश हुई है.
Yeah, I know there was a strong wind and there was rain and there was a thunderstorm. Yes, I'm aware of that. Okay, anyway, so we will upload the recording also for them if they couldn't join. So I was talking about the first calculation, which is t is equal to 0 to 3 seconds. So who can explain this? You'll get a point for this.
Ma'am, Amna Mohan.
Yes, Amna.
मैम जैसे कि हमने किया है कि चेंज इन y ओवर चेंज ओवर x तो
Okay, ठहरो मैं साथ साथ let me write it. So t is equal to 0 is the point. Just a moment. साथ साथ लिखते भी हैं इसको so that we can all understand. So t is equal to 0 is here, right? This point. And t is equal to 3 seconds is
and it
this point, right?
is this
And so if we go on the graph, it will be here. ठीक है? Okay. Yes. आगे.
yes, ma'am. So ma'am, according to the formula of slope, it is change over y over change over x, which is equals to change in s over change over t. So अगर हम लोग s2 minus s1 करें तो s2 is 3 जहाँ पे कट कर रहा है 3 को 3 के कट कर रहा है and then the s1 is 0 at that point. So when if we go with change in x, it means change in t. So the first like t2 is 3 and t1 is 0 again. So the answer will be 1. Like 3 divided by 3, the answer will be 1.
Oh, you always mention the units, right? So this is 1.
Meter per second.
And this gives us the velocity at this point, right?
Velocity.
Right. Okay,
Yes,
very,
ma'am.
very good. So this is an explanation of the first calculation. So Amna gets 1 point. Please, I would like someone else to explain the second calculation we have. It's very simple. We've done it now many times. And this is also helping you prepare for your upcoming quiz. You know that. जी कौन बताएगा दूसरा? Yes. Okay, let's go to a real problem. Okay. Let's look at this one. Instead of doing the one that's solved, let's look at this one. Okay. And now I will ask someone to solve it. So, and I will give you a point for this. Okay. So refer to the graph in exercise. Oh my God, we have to go back to another graph. 4.7. So this is on a previous page. Let's look at 4.7. This graph. Okay. The following table records the displacement of an object at different times. So you have to draw the graph for this one. Okay. And then after drawing this graph, the question is, you have to find the average velocity for the time interval t is equal to 0 to 2 seconds, t is equal to 0 to 4 seconds, t is equal to 6 to 9, and t is equal to this. So please start drawing your graph, and you can then explain this to me, and you will get a point for this. Okay. So I would like all of you to draw a graph for 4.7. Is that clear? समझ आ रही है?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, please करें आप लोग ये ग्राफ बनाएं.
Ma'am, can you move your slides to 4.7?
You don't have the chapter yourself. आपके पास नहीं है?
Hey, ma'am, okay.
हाँ, तो you can, because let me see if I can paste this. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we can start explaining. Who would like to start? How do we draw the graph? Chalo, step by step. Let's talk about this. We have to draw the time, right? Versus the displacement. So the time is 0 to 9 seconds. So if we, and this is 0 to 6 seconds maximum. So if we say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's take it here. So this is 6, and this is, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. Okay. This is 0. So if we take it, or we can take it from here to here, and then we have, okay, so we can join this. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 9. Okay, so we can join this here. Right? So this is time in seconds. This is displacement in meters. Okay, so this is the 0.00. Then we have 2 seconds and 4 seconds and 6 seconds and 8 seconds and 9 seconds. In this case, we have in meters, we have this is 2 meters, this is 4 meters, 4 meters, and 6 meters. So the first point is 0, 0. This is here. This is the first point. Then you have 1, 2. So 1 and 2. This is the second point. Then you have 2 and 4. 2 and 4. This is here. Then you have 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is here. Then you have 4 and 4. You can see my board, right? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Okay, so then we have 5 and 6. 5 and 6 is here. Then we have 6 and 6. This is here. And then we have 7 and 4. 7 and 4 is here. And then we have 8 and 2. 8 and 2 is here. And then we have 9 and 0. 9 and 0 is here. Okay. So now we can join these points. So you have a linear line here. Then you have a straight line here. Then you have a linear line here. Then you have a straight line here. Then you have a decreasing linear relationship here. Okay. So यहाँ पे था ना point 7. Number 7. 7 is 4. Okay. So you have a line here, which goes here and which goes down to here. Is that clear? Is this the right graph?
Yes, ma'am.
Good,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
अब समझ आ रही है ना?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's do the first part. So t is equal to 0 to t is equal to 2 seconds. Who will help us with this?
Ma'am, it is same like the
नाम
previous
बताओ.
one.
What's your name?
Mom.
हाँ?
Amna, mom.
नहीं आमना मत किया, अब कोई और बताए. Let someone else do it. कोई और बताए, please. Yes. मैं खुद नाम बोलूं फिर. Come on. कौन बताएगा? एलिया आप बताओ.
मैम लाइक प्रीवियस वन की तरह करेंगे. जैसे ये एक t0 है तो t0 पे एक निशान लगाएंगे, पॉइंट लगाएंगे, और ये जो 2 सेकंड्स है.
एक मिनट, let's do it. Okay. t0 पे एक निशान हो गया. Okay.
और 2 सेकंड पे एक निशान आएगा.
Okay. ठीक है. आगे.
अब इसको ज्वाइन कर देंगे.
ज्वाइन ये बन गया आपका ट्रायंगल यूं, है ना?
यस मैम.
ठीक हो गया. अब आगे क्या करना है?
मैम आगे मैम ये सारों को एक साथ करना है. ऊपर जो BC, उसके
ये
बाद
वाला
फिर
करो, पहले वाला करो ना. t is equal to 0 to t is equal to 2 seconds. Determine the average velocity.
मैम इसका अब हम फॉर्मूला यूज करेंगे.
क्या?
क्या था? S2 minus S1 divided by T2 minus T1.
ठीक है. तो s2 क्या है?
S2 2 centimeters शायद.
मीटर है बेटा.
ओह हाँ, यस सॉरी, 2
2
meters.
मीटर.
और 0 में ये 0 है इसका. हाँ S1 और डिवाइडेड बाय T2 हमारे पास गिवन है.
t2 कितना है?
Ma'am, I have a question.
जस्ट अ मोमेंट. कौन बोल रहा है? पहले ये लेट्स फिनिश दिस. हाँ, t2 कितना है?
मैम T2 हमारे पास 0 है.
लिया ध्यान से.
T1 and 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
और T1 है हमारे पास 0 seconds.
0 seconds. So this is equal to
1 cutting 1
meter divided by 2
meter per
seconds
second.
is equal to 1 meter per second. This is your
Per
answer.
second.
This is the average
Yes.
velocity for the first part. Is that clear to
Yes.
everyone?
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, so let's give Elia a point and then I'll listen to your question, okay? So where is Elia's name? Let me find his name. Elia, you can switch off your mic now.
Ma'am,
Okay,
my
yes.
mic already switched.
Okay, so who is asking a question?
मैम आमना
जी आमना.
मैम ऊपर सर में जो डाटा दिया हुआ है उसने उसने कहा कि 2 सेकंड्स तक हमने काउंट करना है, ठीक है? तो 2 सेकंड्स पे तो मीटर 4 है,
Very good,
आपने 1
Amna.
सेकंड पे
Yes,
मीटर 2.
very good, very good. Amna pointed out a mistake. There was a mistake we made. तो वो मिस्टेक क्या थी? वो मिस्टेक थी कि 2 सेकेंड्स इधर है. एक्चुअली दैट इज ट्रू, है ना? ये 1 सेकेंड था, ये 2 सेकेंड था. और मीटर्स में अगर हम देखें तो 1 के साथ 2 है और 2 के साथ 4 है. हाँ ठीक है, गलत हो रहा है. गलत हो रहा है ना? गलत किया हमने,
Yes, ma'am.
है ना?
यस मैम,
चलो
सर 4
Elia,
डिवाइडेड
चलो ठहरो. It's okay, Elia. Thank you, Amna. You get a point for pointing out the mistakes, and we'll ask Elia to correct this now. Okay, Elia, आपको समझ आई क्या गलती हुई है?
Yes, ma'am.
समझ आ गई है ना? तो इसको ठीक करवाओ.
मैम 0 पॉइंट पर वो ऊपर जा रहा है.
ये 2 के साथ
2 सेकंड्स.
2 सेकेंड्स के साथ तो 4 आता है, इधर आता था पॉइंट, है ना?
यस मैम.
ये गलत
Yes,
था.
ma'am.
ओके, तो हमारा ये वाला ट्राइंगल बन रहा था. तो अब हाउ डज द कैलकुलेशन चेंज? यहाँ पे वी शुड हैव
मैम चेंज कर देंगे इनकी वैल्यूज को.
क्या वैल्यू होनी चाहिए?
मैम
इंस्टेड ऑफ
S2 की जगह बस हम S4 लगा देंगे.
4 लगाओ.
हाँ, S2 की जगह 4 लगा देंगे.
4 यहाँ हो जाएगा एंड देन
Yes,
दिस इज इक्वल टू, ये भी 4 हो जाएगा, है ना?
यस मैम.
तो दिस इज 4. सो एंड दिस
तो
इज
फिर ये 2
इक्वल,
आ जाएगा.
yes, this will be 2. So very good. So Amna, shabash, you pointed it out, and Elia, thank you again for correcting it. मैं दोनों को एक एक पॉइंट दे देती हूँ, ठीक है? So this is good.
Thank
So
you, ma'am.
that's the advantage of doing this, together in the class. We can always, if someone is making a mistake, we can always correct it. So Halima is having a problem. She's connecting and disconnecting, but it's okay, Halima. I have marked your attendance. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so I have, explained, and you have also explained how we solved, first drew the graph for this problem, and then we made the calculation for part 1. You can do the remaining parts as a homework at home. Is that clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, do it yourself. Make the graph and do the remaining parts. They are the same as the first one, and it was good. We made a mistake and then we corrected a mistake, and that was a nice learning exercise. Okay, so now let's look at another one. So now I will go back to the book and let's look at okay. So I'm going to share the book with you. So now you can see the book, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So the graph that we were discussing up till now was the position time graph or the displacement time graph. Now we are going to talk about the second kind of graph, which is the velocity time graph. So again, as I said, whenever you're solving the questions and also in your quiz, pay attention to the type of graph it is. We have studied 3 types of graphs. Okay, so that's very important. For a velocity time, for a position time graph, the slope was equal to the velocity, which we got with this equation, right? Now we have another case in which we have been given this table. You can see that in this table we have displacement and time measurements in the first case, and we have velocity and time measurements in the second case. Okay, so we have 2 cases. Okay, now let's look how we can solve this. This shows that the displacement changes from 8 to 18 meters over the time from 2 to 3 seconds. So when you look at the time 2 seconds to 3 seconds, This is, let's say, T1, and this is, let's say, T2. The displacement is changing. This is S1 and S2. So this is changing from 8 to 18 meters. Okay. So if you want to calculate the slope or the velocity in this case, then you can use the same method of delta S over delta T, which is S2 minus S1 over T2 minus T1. You can put in the values and you can calculate the velocity, right? And in this case, you can also see that the graph is linear. Okay. If you draw, the linear means it's a straight line. Okay, like this. This means linear. Okay. And otherwise this is not a straight line if it goes something like this. And if it's like this on a position time graph, it means the body is not moving, the position is not changing. We've discussed these things before as well. So a linear graph represents that the velocity is changing at a constant rate with time. Okay, acceleration is defined as the rate of change of velocity, and the slope of the velocity. The slope of the displacement time graph gives us the velocity. The slope of the velocity time graph gives us the acceleration. Okay. So in this case, in the second case, when it's a velocity time graph, for a velocity time graph, the slope will give you the it will give you the acceleration, which is the change in velocity divided by the change in time. So this over here. Okay, so this is something to be noted. You can see there's an example here. For example, we can determine the acceleration from the graph using the coordinates 520 and 0.52. So we have 2 points, 520 and 5. So this means that this is 520 means 5 and 20. It means this is, what is this? This is the velocity. This is the time, right? This is x1. This is x2. This is y2. If you plot the graph, okay, you will see that this corresponds to this, and this point is 0.52. 0.52 means 0.5 is, this was T2 and this was V2, and 0.5 means this is T1 and this is V1, or if you write in coordinates, this is x1 and this is y1. Now you have the values. Now you can do find this. Since this is a velocity time graph, therefore the slope will give you the acceleration. This will be V2 minus V1 over T2 minus T1. So V2 is 20. 20 minus V1 is 2. This is 2. T2 is 5 and T1 is 0.5. Then you can do the calculation and you can find the acceleration. Notice that the unit of acceleration is meter per second square. Okay. And now this is, I've highlighted this again. The slope of the velocity time graph gives you the acceleration. The slope of the position time graph gives you the velocity. So these are the points to be noted, right? Now, another important concept we have studied before is that the area under a velocity time graph gives you the displacement. Okay, so we have studied this. Let's practice this again. You have a graph here, and in this case, you notice that along the x-axis you have the time, along the y-axis you have the velocity. Now, if the question is that you are given a velocity time graph and you have to find the displacement, what will you do? You will find the area under the graph. Now, this is the shape that you have under the graph. So it will be easy if you divide it into 2 parts. So one part is here and one part is here. They've shown it with different shading. The first part represents a rectangle and the second part represents a triangle. So area of a rectangle is equal to, what's the formula for area of a rectangle? Is equal to length multiplied by width, right? Or breadth, you call it. So the length in this case is 0 to 5. This is 5 seconds multiplied by the width is 4 multiplied by 4 meter per second. The answer is equal to 20. meters. The seconds cancel. So this is the area of the rectangle. This is the formula for the area of the rectangle. So we have done the calculation for this part. Now for area of the triangle, the formula is area of a triangle is given by half into base into height. So this means half multiplied by base is 5 to 8. This means 3, 5, 8 minus 5 is 3. So this is 3 seconds. Multiplied by height is from here to here. So this is 4 meter per second. 4 meter per second. So when you calculate this, you get 6 meters. So this is equal to 6 meters. The seconds again cancel out. So this is the area. So the total area under the curve will be equal to 20 plus 6. This is equal to 26 meters. So you have your answer here. Is that clear?
No, ma'am.
कौन बोल रहा है?
मैम ये सेकंड वाला दोबारा समझा
हाँ
दीजिए।
बोलो।
एरिया ऑफ रेक्टेंगल।
हाँ कौन आमना क्वेश्चन पूछो।
मैम ये फिर रिपीट कर दें, इसमें मर्ज हो गया, कुछ समझ में नहीं आया।
कौन सा वाला?
मैम रेक्टेंगल वाला भी और बाद वाला भी, ट्रायंगल वाला भी।
अच्छा, और एलिया का क्वेश्चन क्या है?
रेक्टेंगुलर वाला, एरिया ऑफ रेक्टेंगल।
अच्छा बेटा, आप अपने फॉर्मूलाज आपने ये सारे स्कूल में यू हैव स्टडीड दिस फॉर्मूलाज, राइट? So you know that the formula for the area of a rectangle is a shape like this, right? Okay, it has one side which is longer and one side which is shorter. So this is the longer side can be called the length and the shorter side can be called the width. You can, some people also call it the breadth. Okay, so the area formula is then equal to length multiplied by width, the longer side multiplied by the shorter side. Okay, so this is what I've written over here. So this was the rectangle. So this length is equal to 5 minus 0. This is equal to 5. Okay, is that clear?
Yes ma'am, yes.
Okay,
yes.
And the width is 4 minus 0. This is equal to 4. Okay,
Yes ma'am.
okay, then you multiply them and you get your answer. Is that clear?
Yes ma'am.
Okay, now coming to the triangle. Now this is the shape of a triangle that we have. The formula for the area of a triangle is half multiplied by base multiplied by height. Area is equal to half multiplied by base multiplied by height. So base is this one, okay, and height is this one. So this is B and this is H. Height is always the perpendicular vertical distance from the bottom of the triangle to the top of the triangle, right? It's not a slanting line. Height is always a perpendicular line. Okay. Okay. So if the triangle, for example, was like this, then the height will still be this one. Okay. So in this case, half multiplied by the height, height is equal to 4 minus 0. तो गलत किया ना हमने, 3 नहीं था कि 3 था. हाइट कितनी है हमारे पास? सॉरी, इट्स फाइन, मैंने हाइट यहाँ लिखी है,
4 ही है.
4 ही है, ठीक है, इट्स 4 एंड द बेस इज 8 minus 5, दिस इज 3. ओके, सो 4 multiplied by 3 divided by 2, this is how much? 6. Now the total area under the curve is equal to the sum of the area of the rectangle and the area of the triangle. And then you 20 meter plus 6 meter, this is equal to 26 meter. Is that clear now, Amna, Elia?
Yes ma'am.
Good, great.
Yes ma'am.
Okay, very good. So now let's see. Let's look at 4.12. We will not be able to complete it, but we can start explaining it a little bit and I'll leave it to you as a homework. Let's start from here, okay? So in this case, we have a graph, which is a time and a velocity graph, okay? And we have to determine the acceleration and displacement, okay? So in this case, in order to determine this, we have to look at the graph, which we can see it can be divided into 3 sections. Okay, if you want to find the area under this graph, you know this shape, of course you have formula for this shape as well, but it's easier to divide it into triangle and a rectangle. And in this case, you can see that you have one triangle. This is one. This is the second one is a rectangle, and the third part is a triangle again. So you can divide it into 3 parts. Okay.